Hey, randomly, a friend tweeted me this poll. They're like, did you see this poll? Trump and Biden in a virtual dead heat. How? Why? Like, don't you love that people think we have all the answers
right.
as to what has happened?
So we got someone who does have all the
answers.
answers.
Yeah, exactly. We did. We found the culprit. Maury Blackman, CEO of Premise Data, host of the Great Minds Think Data podcast. Good morning, Maury.
Good morning, Stephanie. Thank you for having me.
Well, thank you for coming on, because I have to say it is one of those things, and I know probably you will tell us this is early, as they say it's lifetimes away, 2024, but it's still sort of astounding to a lot of us. So in this poll, when you say dead heat, Trump's at 53, Biden's at 47, correct, in your poll?
Well, we statistically it's insignificant, so it's really 50-50.
Right. Now, were you shocked, or what did you think when you...
I was, to be honest, Stephanie, I was stunned. I mean, there was a couple things that really surprised me, but the fact that they were still in a dead heat, despite all of Trump's issues, and really despite, all of Biden's issues, you would think that one would weigh heavier on the other. I think the key here that I found that I was so stunned by as it relates to the Republicans is the fact that in spite of all Trump's issues, he's still crushing Mike Pence and Ron DeSantis in a theoretical matchup. It's like, what are these people thinking? Yeah. It's just pretty stunning to me when I look at this result. I think the other part that's really quite interesting from a Republican point of view is that Biden and Trump are running even in my poll, the premise poll. But what we found is that in spite of the fact that Trump is beating Pence and DeSantis so badly on the other end, he's actually performing those two candidates in a theoretical matchup are actually performing pretty well against Biden. They're slightly ahead of him. Statistically, it doesn't matter, but it just shows that, hey, if the Republicans would get their act together, put the right candidate up, they might be able to win in 24.
Well, Maury, we've been talking about this all morning, that it's my ongoing, I guess, bewilderment, but beef that the mainstream media, I've just never seen anything like it in my experience, is the, Biden bad, Democrats doomed, both sides do it kind of storyline that they're constantly committed to, despite that just not being the truth. I mean, Biden provably has a record of accomplishment we haven't seen in 50 years by every barometer you can see. But what happens, it seems like to me, the mainstream media, he solves one crisis. Have you seen anywhere gas prices down by whatever? No, they don't cover that. Then they go on to the next thing that apparently Biden's doing wrong. And I'm wondering if you have a take on that. I'm like, I'm not surprised at his poll numbers, because I'm like, every single storyline somehow is Biden, Biden bad, Democrats doomed.
Well, I clearly think the media is here to, sell drama and make things sensationalized. So, I guess from their standpoint, they feel like they're doing their job on that end. But I think what the Democrats need to do is just continue to pound away at their successes. Mm-hmm. I think this recent development with Joe Manchin and Schumer on this new bill is exciting because it shows progress. It's doing the right things for the country. One of the things that I think a lot of people are fed up with is the fact that these major corporations like Apple and Google that make billions and billions of dollars pay no tax. And this bill's brilliant from the standpoint that it puts a floor on that and says, hey, you big corporations, you have the wealthiest employees, you have the wealthiest executive management teams, you need to step up and pay your share.
Yeah, no, exactly. Well, and also, Maury, I feel like, we keep talking about our term on the show is alpha liberals. We need more alpha liberals that, know how to fight, know how to punch and counter punch, and tell our story. I mean, the Republican Party, it's not, the mainstream media will tell you, oh, look what happened with this, veterans bill. It's just, politics doesn't work. No, Republicans blocked funding for veterans with cancer. Republicans did. Like it's, so I think it's just in terms of telling the story. I mean, Democrats want to cap your insulin at $35. Republicans don't. Democrats want to stop price gouging at the pump. Republicans voted against it. I mean, you know what I'm saying? To me, there's never been a clearer contrast. I don't think you did that specifically in your poll, but Democrats are still ahead generically as to who people want to vote for in the. Do you have a thought on that and Biden's poll numbers?
Well, I think that, first of all, the alpha liberal comment that you made there, I think that my good friend and governor here in California stepped in and played a really good role in that.
Yes.
He basically said, hey, you know what? I'm not going to sit here and just get bashed by the media. I'm going to pull out ads on my own money. with my own money in Florida and Texas, and really point out the clear discrepancies between what we're doing here in California and what they're doing in Texas and Florida. Whether you agree with him or not, he's really stepped out there and taken the mantle there. As far as, I'm sorry?
No, I agree. I agree. Go ahead.
Well, I think to your question about, Biden and his administration, if they failed at any one thing, it's basically having very clear talking points on the successes they've had. Yeah. And sometimes I think that, early when we tried to have these really big, the Build Back Better, which is a really big program, I think they're a little bit tone deaf on their ability to get the whole package through. Yeah. But this is let's not underscore, this is a huge win coming into this election. Right, but once again,
it's not Democrats more. It comes down to one or two people, and here we are again, Manchin and Sinema. I mean, literally, Sinema might scuttle this whole thing now, even that we've gotten Manchin to agree with. So it's not Democrats won't get this done. It's two people. That's why we need to make them irrelevant. We need to, I don't know if you're looking at polling, but I say we have more than a good chance, not just to get 2 Senate seats, we have a good chance of getting 8 more if you look at, race by race.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think the Democrats have a very good shot of not only walking away with, 1 or 2 seats. I think that they could actually end up with a 55-45.
Yeah.
If you look at the numbers.
Amazing.
The House is a different story.
Yeah.
The House looks pretty bleak on the Democratic side. But
I still am not. I think with Roe v. Wade, I think with J6, I'm not willing to. I'm not willing to give in to the doom and gloom, Maury. In terms of we've already lost the House. I get that it's tough.
Lanny Davis, my good friend, wrote an outstanding piece that was published in The Hill where he pointed out very clearly how Democrats should be challenging their Republican counterparts. And it's on Roe v. Wade, it's on Putin and Trump. Yeah. They need to be very clear on that because the American people don't, they need sound bites. I mean, we're busy in our day-to-day lives. And so we need to understand the clear discrepancies here and not just talking innuendo so much.
Yeah.
But really hit the point.
Let's talk about the Democratic side, Maury, because that's the other thing Bob Seska, our friend, tweeted about this morning about, polling, I think has a lot to do with how the mainstream media portrays Biden and politics in general. But secondarily, he said, this is what I like about alpha liberals is stand strong for your leadership. If anything, your polling shows is it's a cult of Trump. They stand by Trump no matter, it doesn't matter how many crimes, how crimes he commits. Whereas what your polling shows, and other polls have shown, of course, are that Democrats are nervous already about Joe Biden. First of all, as you know, politically, 2024 is a billion years away from now, right? But the thing is, Democrats are nervous, right? That's what basically came out of this. You have here it is. Democrats have a clear message for President Biden. Don't run again by a margin of 23 points, 61% to 38%. They reject another Biden run. The preferences include Kamala Harris at 21%, Hillary Clinton at 19%, Gavin Newsom and Pete Buttigieg tied for third at 9%. Where do you see that coming from? Is it generation? Is it generational? Is it that, but again, Fox News, all they cover 24/7 is Biden old, Biden dementia, Biden, and first of all, a bunch of stuff that's not true, but I don't know how much that plays into Democrats' nervousness. What do you think?
I think that what the Democrats are saying to Joe Biden is, we love you. You did your job. You got Donald Trump out of office. Now we're ready for a new type of leadership. I think it's very clear to Americans that, Joe's lost a little bit of a step and they're ready for a more energetic candidate in 2024. That's just my take. I think that as we get close to the election and it starts to shape out who we're going to be running against on the Republican side, I think that people will take an assessment on who is best there to win this job. Because it's all about winning, Stephanie. You know that.
Yeah.
Well,
so I think he's earned the right that, it's up to him. And I just wonder.
Absolutely.
Because I do know he said the thing about what did he say about I'm the bridge to the next generation? I think a lot of people took from that he didn't say specifically I'm only going to serve one term, right? But people sort of took from that he meant I'm a bridge. Do you know what I'm saying? Is that I don't know how you think that plays into the polling.
I just think that what people are, you know, if you remember when we were coming up to the 2020 election, he was behind in the polls pretty substantially. And I think that kind of coming out of the early primaries, people took a step back. You know, some of the, you know, James Carville, other people were saying, listen, we can't win with Bernie. Let's be realistic about it. Bernie's a great guy. We agree with a lot of his policies and programs, but he's not going to be able to beat Trump. And when people assess the candidate field, they were like, this man, Joe Biden, is the best guy that we've got to beat Donald Trump. And it was very clear in theoretical matchups back then that he would not only run the strongest, but had the best chance to win. Yeah. And so they threw their weight behind him. And so I think as we get into 2024, those assessments will still happen. So these numbers could shrink. I mean, people right now in their hearts feel, wow, you know, as you mentioned, the media is just beating us down with bad news, and they think, okay, maybe it's time for something different. Yeah. That's another way to look at this. Yeah. But I think that over the next couple of years, it's going to be fascinating to see how this all plays out on both sides, on the Democratic side and the Republican side.
Yeah. Well, I think in the age of Trump, I do get, what's the word, like Democrats being afraid, because I think when we look at the tremendous racist backlash that brought us Trump, you know, I think the backlash to the first black president, I do have nervousness about, like, oh God, Kamala Harris, is she going to get all the sexism that Hillary got and all the racism that Obama got? You know, I think Pete Buttigieg is amazing. I'm like, is America ready for the first gay president? I mean, I think of, I will die mad about Hillary. That's my. But I think, and a lot of women.
Lanny Davis.
Yes,
I hear it all the time.
Yeah. Right. But I think a lot of women feel the same way. And you think like, oh, is the first woman president she's going to have to be white, or she's going to have to be Republican? Like, I don't know because I think a lot of us after Obama's election thought we were a lot farther ahead progressively in this country than now. Look at this tremendous, not just Trump, the backlash, but I mean all the white supremacist, terrorist groups that brought us January 6th and beyond.
I think that as we get closer to 2024, I do think that not just the American people, there's always going to be believers in the Republican Party, but I think one of the things that we're seeing here is that really the independents are going to swing the election. So what the Democrats need to be doing is really continue to recruit those independents, because they're really going to be the ones that move the needle in 2024. Yeah.
Maury, how do we find the podcast? It is called the Great Minds Think Data Podcast. Just wherever we get.
Yeah, please just Google Great Minds Think Data and you'll find it.
Okay, and it is premise data is the new poll, and I'm sure we will check in with you as we roll closer to the elections.
Thank you, Stephanie. It's great to be with you this morning.
All right, thank you, Maury. There he goes. All right, the author of the terrifying poll shows Trump and Biden. Shush, everybody says.
It's going to be okay.
How long away is it, Chris? How long away?
11 billion months away.
Years.